and welcome to the Press Box. I'm Vanessa Johnson, and for the next 30 minutes, I'll be your host. With me are Ty Reynolds and Jay Marcks. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
That's great. Before we start, I would like to remind our viewers that this is a live show, so if you have any questions, you can give us a call at 873-6713. Okay, guys, let's talk college football. Dogs versus Tide this weekend.
Well, and here it is. You got two teams clashing in Tuscaloosa this weekend. And this is a place where Georgia's never won. These teams have been winning lately, but that doesn't, that just doesn't mean that they've been successful. I think these are two teams that are really not playing that well right now. Alabama had to struggle to get wins over Tulane and Vanderbilt at home. That's not very good, and this isn't what I expect out of a Gene Stallings football team. As for Georgia, they have not met any expectations. They did have a win this week against Ole Miss at home. But when you start saying that a 3-point win against Ole Miss at home is a quality win, I think that that's more or less a joke. A program like Georgia should be getting 20-point wins at home versus Ole Miss, and they're just not getting that done. And Ray Goff's record versus the Rebels is 3-3 in his career. Again, I don't think that's a program that's on the level of Georgia, yet they have a hard time beating them. I just think that these are two teams that aren't playing very well right now.
I disagree. I think that Ole Miss being in their conference it makes it a tough game. You see them year in, year out. They're familiar with your personnel. They're familiar with what you do. And so those games are going to be a little harder. The point you made about Alabama struggling is, I think, a better point. When you struggle against a team like Tulane or a team like UT Chattanooga or something, then you're really struggling. Georgia, on the other hand, I think can say they've been successful. I don't think even the staunchest Georgia supporters didn't think they were going to be 3-1 at this point. I just don't think that the key for Ray Goff was getting wins. We talked about it at the end of last year. It's like he's got to get wins. He's got to stockpile wins here to save his job. So whether it's 17-14 or 37-14, if he gets a win, he's looking good right now. And so I think in that respect, Georgia would be the more successful of the two teams here.
I think Alabama's got some really good defense, and they've struggled a little bit, and I don't understand their philosophy of changing from a 3-4, where they've been just a dynamite team defensively, leading the nation just about for the past couple of years. And then changing to a 4-3, I think they've lost a lot of speed on the corner. I think teams can run some counter plays and get to the corners before some of those defensive players can come up there and head you off.
Yeah, I think my key to the game is how well Georgia stops Alabama's running attack. Okay, that to me is going to Tennessee showed Georgia that if you can't stop the run, they're just going to keep running it. Now, Stallings is in the old Bear Bryant mode, where if you can't stop what they're doing, he's going to do it over and over and over again until you do stop it. We'll see whether Marion Campbell makes the necessary adjustments in this game. I don't think he made enough adjustments at the end of the Tennessee game to actually force them to throw the ball. You got to say, here, if you throw the ball successfully, you win the game on us. They got to have that attitude in this Alabama game. You got to come out, stop the run, say if Barker's throwing the ball 40, 45 times and Zaire's throwing the ball 40, 45 times, Georgia should win that game because Zaire's a better passer than Barker.
I think this should be a good game because, as you both mentioned, both of these teams are struggling. Any reasons why?
Well, I think the reason Alabama's struggling is simply put their offense. Here it is. They just hired Homer Smith in the offseason, who is a highly respected offensive coordinator, and I think he's a great offensive coordinator. He was down there at Alabama when they had Gary Hollingsworth as their quarterback and just ran out some tremendous scores on people, and I think Homer Smith is a type of offensive coordinator that knows what he's doing. And I think Gene Stallings has more or less put the clamps on him, and I think the reason he's done this is because Alabama has had to replace 4 starting offensive linemen. And Stallings is a type of person that does not want to have mistakes and wants to win with his kicking game and his defense. That's why I think he's put the clamps on him. But then I don't think Smith is able to do the things that he wants to do with his offense. As for Georgia, they just don't put teams away when they have a chance. They had a chance to put South Carolina away, and they made turnovers. They make turnovers all the time. And also, in this game against Ole Miss, where they actually did not turn the ball over that much, the defense managed to let down some. Here it is on Ole Miss's first opening drive. They drive the ball down the field 91 yards. And then Georgia comes back, gets a 17-7 lead. Your defense needs to go out there and stop these people and get your ball back and go down there and score on these guys again and put them away. You had everything going in your favor. So what do? They let Ole Miss come out here and drive the ball right back down the field and get right back in the football game, scoring on a long touchdown pass. They don't know how to put people away.
What do you think?
I think that Stallings is more guilty of that than Goff. I think that Georgia, with their passing attack, they turn the ball over, like you said, and that prevents them from putting the team away. But when Alabama fails to put a team away, it's because of the play calling. It's because, like you said, Stallings is putting the clamps on his offensive coordinator. Plus, if they're up 10-0 in a game, he's going to run 3 fullback dives and punt the ball and let his defense win. It seems to me like Stallings is trying to win every one of these games 10-0 or 17-7, stuff like that. And he's satisfied with that because he has confidence in his defense, and I would say rightfully so. They got a good defense and have had a good defense most of the time he's been there. But to me, Stallings, you're right about him. He will not open it up offensively, and I don't think he will in this game. I don't think he will for the rest of the year. He's a conservative coach. He's going to play it, close. He's going to try to win it with his defense. So in that respect, Georgia has a tremendous advantage in this game because if the game is close, within a field goal or a touchdown at the end, they've got a team that can run that 2-minute drill. They can come flying down the field and come back in a game like this and steal it at the end when Alabama's offense won't be able to do that and reciprocate in that fashion. They won't be able to get that last-second field goal. They won't be able to drive the ball down the field in a minute and a half without timeout, stuff like that. I think Zaire here has the advantage in that respect.
I think the game is going to be determined by mistakes, turnovers. And I really think Alabama's going to win this football game. I think Georgia's going to make more mistakes. And isn't it funny? Here it is. I said, I don't think Georgia turned the ball over that much last week. Well, Zaire had 3 interceptions, a career high. But compared to some like the 6 turnovers they had against Tennessee, to me, that didn't look like that much. This team still makes way too many turnovers, and I think Alabama will win on mistakes.
In any event, this should be a critical game for Goff's security.
Oh, no doubt about it. This is very important. For one thing, it's a down year in the SEC, and everyone knows it. Georgia has a chance to beat teams like Alabama. I'm not saying they will, but they have a chance. They got a chance to beat Auburn over there. Not saying they will, but they've got a chance. This team has a chance to win 8 games this year. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. But with the team that he has and with the conference being down, 8 wins should be realistic, despite the team being a poor team. Or I wouldn't say poor, but maybe an average team. They don't have much depth.
Well, we'll have to see this weekend. We have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey.
I wanted to comment on Miami's winning streak getting busted this weekend. How'd Colorado go in and do that?
I think it was Washington.
Washington.
Well, okay, one of the two.
Yeah. Well, Washington's a good team. I think that Miami doesn't have anything to be embarrassed about. People always say, the law of averages is definitely going to catch up with you. You win some 50-some games in a row, the chances of losing one are pretty good. But Washington's a good team. They went in there. They played a Miami team that I don't think is as strong. I don't know what you think, Ty, as they have been in the past. They can't absolutely shut you down like they used to, and they don't have the capacity to score quick. They got that freshman guy Green that's so fast, but they don't have any speed on the other side. And I think their team defensive speed was down. It showed. The big play in that game was when that fullback caught that screen pass and ran 75 yards. Well, he wasn't behind everybody. I got news for you. He was in the middle of everybody and outran them. And we got a bowling ball type fullback outrunning your defensive backs. That shows your team speed is down, and that could be make a long season for Erickson over there in Miami. Long meaning that they may finish 8-3 instead of their customary 11-0, 10-1.
I tell you what, USC has to be ecstatic now about getting a 24-17 win against Washington early in the year out there at the Coliseum, because I don't think they'd have a chance to beat those guys right now. Washington is vastly improved from their first game of the year.
Okay, we have another phone call. Thank you for calling. Calling on the air.
Yes, hello?
Yes.
Yes, I want to get y'all guys, you got a great show going here tonight. I want to get you guys comment about the game with L.A. beating Kansas City. I still can't understand how the Falcons was able to lose with Kansas City and beat L.A. Can I get your perspective on that, please?
Sure. Thanks for the phone call.
Thank you. You want me to go first?
Go ahead. You go first.
Okay.
Jay, you're the NFL expert.
First, the Rams came in here to play the Falcons in a different situation. The Falcons had not won. They had a new regime in June Jones. They stressed the fact that that game had to be won. They were completely and totally focused on winning that game, and they put the Rams away. Now, when Kansas City played the Rams, they had just gone through 3 straight NFC West teams, like you-know-what through a goose, and they really planned on throwing their helmets down on the field and beating the Rams. And this is NFL. These guys are professional players. Sure, one team may have better talent than the other, but they're not that far off. You can't walk out there and just show up. And that's what happened with this Rams-Kansas City game. The Rams were fired up. They had heard where that Montana could move the ball at will and how good he was, and plus the point spread was something ungodly, like 2 touchdowns or something, which is a lot in an NFL game. And I think the Rams felt like they were not given the respect they were owed, and they came out and played a very, very good football game, plus the fact that Miller was hurt. Chris Miller was hurt. They had to use a backup quarterback. Everyone thought, well, that's going to make the game even worse, but what it did was it kept Chuck Knox focused on the ground game. They kept the game close. They didn't take any chances whatsoever like they did against the Falcons, and consequently, Kansas City made all the mistakes. If you're not taking chances in an NFL game, you probably won't make as many mistakes as a team that has to take a risk every now and then.
I thought Kansas City, first of all, losing that game, Joe Montana having the virus or the flu, and him throwing 3 interceptions, yeah, that did have an effect on him. I don't see him throwing 3 interceptions on a normal Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams. The other statistic that I look at is that when the Falcons played the Chiefs, they averaged over 5 yards a carry on them in that game. And here it is. What do the Rams really like to do? They got that big running back out of Notre Dame. They want to feed him the ball and let him run. I think Kansas City is a little suspect to the run.
That could be. That's a good point. However, I do think Kansas City has a good defense as far as not allowing teams to score. You see the Rams beat them, but they only beat them 16-0. So when everyone said, oh, Joe Montana's a lot better than Steve Young because Kansas City beat the Niners, that wasn't the case at all. It was the Kansas City defense shut down the 49ers offense. That's the case that what happened with the Falcons on that Sunday night game. If you recall, the Kansas City defense didn't allow them to do anything in the first half, and the Falcons got discouraged when they couldn't move the ball, much less score, and the game got out of hand on them. I think that Kansas City's defense is good, but you're right. They may be a little susceptible to a hard-driving, hard-nosed kind of running back like that Bettis guy is. They should have used Hayward. The Falcons should have used Hayward more against them, and I think everyone after the game was over kind of scratched their head and went, why didn't we use Hayward? It's like, well, it's a little late. I think,
why didn't they run?
I think June Jones is learning this. So, like he was a good offensive coordinator, but you got to make adjustments as a head coach, and I think he's definitely adjusting to the role of head coach, don't you, as the season goes on?
A little bit, but I want to give him more time before I make a decision on that.
Okay. Well, we have another phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Is this me?
Yes.
Oh, my name's David, and I'm from Atlanta. I asked y'all, I was watching the game yesterday, and the announcer said something about Chris Dober not being happy playing with the Falcons. Do y'all know anything about that?
I think that's a major understatement, just looking at the way he plays. And thanks for the phone call. Jay, he looks like he's just come around Atlanta and is just not producing like he does at Minnesota. I don't know what your perspective is while looking at him, but this is not the same player that I saw play up there at Minnesota.
No, he's not. I think that because he got the big money, because he was the team leader in sacks in Minnesota, and the Falcons brought him in here specifically to sack the quarterback, his total defensive play has gone downhill. He's just trying to get a sack. Like every down, he's trying to get a sack because he knows that'll be more money, that'll be more fame. Maybe he could get a $5 million contract instead of a $2 million contract. I don't know. Without talking to the man and getting inside his head, you don't know. But you can definitely see what Ty said. His total play has fallen off. He's still quick, and he can still get to the quarterback, but he's too sack-oriented, and I think the veteran offensive tackles are handling that. He's a little too eager for the sack. He's not playing the run. He's not going inside and outside. He's not varying his move. And to tell you the truth, they may be criticizing him over there. The coaching staff in Swanee may be criticizing for that, and this is the kind of prima donna player that won't take criticism. He wants to be known as the best defensive lineman on the team, whereas you got someone right next to him like Pierce Holt that's just a blue-collar kind of worker that, the coaches praise week in and week out. He's out there with injuries. He's playing every down, and Dolman sees that, and he's not the star of the defense. And I think that's got him a little upset. And like Ty said, that's an understatement saying he's not happy playing here.
Yeah, it's funny how you bring up both Pierce Holt's name along with Chris Dolman because here it is. It seems like the Falcons organization is trying to make moves to help improve their pass rush, but they seem to be going out after linemen who have gone past their prime. And I don't know if they're making very good decisions in getting some of these defensive players. I think that they're basically just getting guys who are just about over the hill and are ready to retire. Yeah, I think Pierce Holt's at the end of his career just about.
Yeah, but he's played here 2 years now, so they got him a little closer to his prime. You're right, though, in that assessment. Matthews is a good example.
Yeah.
The defensive back they got from Kansas City, Ross, what is he, 50 years old or something like that?
Yeah.
He played back in the old AFL, didn't he, Ty?
I think so. With Lynn Dawson and Otis Taylor.
Yeah, I don't know, but they do have a tendency to do that, and some of that is it's a bargain. You know, the Falcons have always been notorious for trying to save money. So you look at a guy like Sean Jones. He was on the market this year. They could have signed him, but they'd had to pay like $3 million for him. But they could get Dolman for $2 million. Well, why do you think they could get him for $2 million? Because he was a little bit more past his prime than Sean Jones. So you know, some of this is a financial type of decision, but yeah, the Falcons, they are making moves to help their team. But you're right in your assessment, Ty. I think that some of the players they get are a little past their prime.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get deep into the NFL, let me ask you one more thing about college football. Can it get any worse for Tech?
Well, for Georgia Tech, I mean, getting beat like that at home by Duke, where you more or less just kill yourself making 6 turnovers. But I think it could get worse for Georgia Tech. Here it is. This is a school or a team that's having to depend on true freshmen coming in. Zach Pillars, the freshman out of Florida, Witherspoon, the big defensive tackle out of Alabama. You don't want to depend on freshmen. You want to get a contribution, but you don't want to have to depend on them. And this is what Georgia Tech is doing. I don't know if they got too many guys who can play over there, and I don't know if they have a lot of depth, which is forcing Bill Lewis to put himself in a situation to depend on freshmen. And there's some pretty good teams in that league, and if you're depending on true freshmen, I don't think you're going to win.
That's a good point. The depth factor right there is the total key to the Tech team this year. They started the season without depth, and now they got a bunch of players hurt, and they're playing people that probably aren't up to the Division I standard that the teams they're playing. However, in this situation this week, I don't think it was an embarrassment to lose to Duke. Duke is a little bit better than everyone's giving them credit for. I was outraged when I picked up the paper this morning and found Duke was left out of the top 25. They're 4-0. They're not that bad of a team. I know they haven't played the best talent, but still, when you watch a Duke game, they run the ball well. They throw the ball, you know, good play action pass. They play good defense when they have to. They get the turnovers, you know. I mean, these are factors of a good team. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing. If you're playing that sound of a game, then you should be recognized nationally. And here they go now to Navy. I think they play Navy this week. They may very well be 5-0, having played, you know, about half their games, undefeated, and still not be in the top 25 in the country. That's kind of strange.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is David. I'm calling from Atlanta. I'm a first-time caller. First of all, I'd like to say, Vanessa, you're looking beautiful as ever.
Thank you.
Guys, I want to talk to you about a college quarterback, guy Aaron McNair. I want to ask you, what do you think of this guy? I know he's not going to win the Heisman, really, because like he's in 1AA, and you know, I don't really know the last time maybe one AA player has even come close to winning a Heisman. If they won it, if they have, let me know that too. But I want to know what you think of the guy. You think do you think that he has the tools and everything to maybe to make it in the NFL? And what's his weaknesses now? Because the only thing I'm really looking at about him, because I've seen a couple of games that he's played, is I wonder really if he can really read defenses, because he's really an accurate passer, whether if he's standing or if he's on the move. But like I say, you know, for like reading defense and everything like that, you know, I don't really know how many defensive schemes, you know, you might get, you know, out of a league such as SWAT, because I see they play a lot of man-to-man and everything. But also, the last thing about him I want to know is how do you think, if he does come to the NFL, how do you think he might look in a Falcons uniform? You know, I love Jeff George a lot and everything, but I was thinking maybe that, you know, I don't know how long they'll maybe keep Aber. I like Aber, but his arm strength, I think, is really his weakness and everything with us. But that's all I want to know. I just want to know, like I said, what do you think about him? And I'll hang up and listen.
All right,
Okay,
thanks for the call, David.
First of all, I think Gordy Lockbaum wasn't the last person to finish up in the
Right,
Heisman.
out of Holy Cross, I remember that. And I know also I remember several years ago, maybe back in the early 70s, Ed Marinero out of Cornell was highly rated in the Heisman. I think that was the same year John Cappelletti won.
Yes, those were the last two Division I AA players to finish high in the Heisman, to answer your question. Now to handle the McNair thing, the problem is what you just stated in your call. is the defenses he's playing against aren't indicative of the defenses that he's going to play against in the NFL. So when a team goes to draft him, they're not going to spend a first-round pick on this guy wondering whether he's going to be good in the NFL. He does have a great arm, okay? He's probably a great athlete because he can throw on the move, he can throw in the pocket, and he's a good pure passer. But the closing speed in the NFL is a tremendous difference from college football. And then when you go down a level in college football, you can see he can complete a pass that would be intercepted in, say, a Big Ten game or something like that. So in the NFL, you wouldn't even try that pass. So the general managers, they've got to make a decision. He's obviously going to be a project. I think that if someone with a good quarterback coach can take him, he may go high in the second round or low in the first round because they'll have confidence in that coach to instill in him the part of the game that he's missing by playing down a notch in college football. Other than that, he should be all right. You're right, he won't win the Heisman, but it's because his team probably won't have a winning record, and the level of competition is off. But he should do all right.
Well, as for being picked in the draft as a quarterback, don't be surprised if he does go low simply because there's a lot of quarterbacks coming out this year. There's 3 in the Pac-10 alone with Stenstrom at Stanford, Johnson at USC, and then you still have the quarterback at Cal. You have Eric Zier coming out. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks coming out this year, and not every team out there in the NFL is going to be looking for a quarterback in the first round. When you look at the Falcons, I think that the Falcons are going to, again, need to have to look at defense. And right now, I don't know. It's too early to tell what they're going to be going after because you don't know where they're going to be drafting and what's going to be available for them when it does come out. But Jeff George, I think, is here to stay for a little while with the Falcons, and I don't think they're going to take a quarterback early.
No, they won't.
Okay. Well, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Calling on the air.
Well, I guess we got us facts.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd like to take this time and remind our viewers that this is a live show. So if you have any questions you want to ask, give us a call at 873-6713. Okay, let's talk about tonight's game. Buffalo hosts Denver.
I tell you what, both teams have been a major disappointment this year, Jay. Here it is, Buffalo. This team is averaging only something like 18 points a game, giving up 22 points a game. And they've just been a big disappointment. But yet they've got a winning record. Here it is, they're playing at home against Denver, who's given up around 37 points a game. Denver's been one of the biggest disappointments in the league this year. I don't even know if their coach will be able to make it through the end of the season. I think Buffalo's definitely going to win, but I don't know if they can cover that spread which is 7 points. It's simply because they don't score that many points right now.
Yeah, too bad this game isn't the Super Bowl this year, since one of them would then have a Super Bowl victory. But regardless of the outcome, everyone should join us at Dirty Al's Northside Drive to watch this game.
We'll be there.
The beer will be flowing, and really any NFL game on Sunday is always on at Dirty Al's. But as far as this game goes, defense, what Ty touched on, Buffalo has a better defense, they'll win the game. Denver's defense is awful. I mean, you can have Elway, you can have all the all-stars you want, but if you don't have a defense that can stop a team in the NFL, you're not going to have the ball. Right. They're just going to pound it. They're going to run Thomas. They're going to run that short, dumb passing game, and they'll have the ball the whole time. So really, Buffalo's a safe pick. As far as the point spread, I don't know if they can cover because 7 points is a lot. And when you got Elway, he could come down and get a backdoor kind of cover on a touchdown, a meaningless touchdown that pulls them within 7 but doesn't help them to win the game. So, yeah, if you like gambling, I wouldn't gamble on this one.
Right, like me. Well, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing?
Fine.
All right.
This is Larry. I'm calling from Midtown.
Uh-huh.
Look, I have a question, and this is sort of about the Heisman race. Eric Zier is one of the top candidates, and it seems like last year, at the end of last year, before his last year, he was told not to come out of college because he was too slow, he was too short, and his arm wasn't quite strong enough, and they said he might go to the lower second or maybe even to the third round. What's the difference this year between Eric Zier this year and Eric Zier last year? He hadn't grown any. His foot speed, I don't think his quickness hasn't increased that much, and his arm strength, I don't know. But were they underrating him last year, or are they overrating him this year? I'm talking about the pro scouts.
Okay,
That's a
thanks
good
for the
question.
call.
I think, first of all, His arm strength is better.
That's what I was going to say, the strength.
He's more mature in the pocket, which is, I mean, if you can be relaxed in the pocket in the NFL, you'll complete a lot more passes to a secondary or third receiver than you will. And third, I think he knew that Schuler and Dilfer last year were going to be picked either 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, and that's where he wants to slot himself for the millions of dollars. He wants to be a third or fourth pick in the draft. He knew that wouldn't happen last year. It may happen this year. I mean, you made a good point. Maybe it won't, you know. But the fact is he has a better chance this year than he did last year because Schuler and Dilfer were way better than he was last year. Yeah,
Jay, I think you hit it right on the head. The other issue other than arm strength is money. He would have loved to have come out last year if there wouldn't have been no such thing as Heath Schuler or Trent Dilfer. He would have come out. Money had a whole lot to do with his decision.
Right. Well, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, this is Carlos from Clayton County. I'd like to ask the fellow what happened to Charlie Ward and why nobody in the NFL didn't draft him. And also I have a second question on y'all prediction of who's going to win the Falcons game against the Rams next week.
Okay, thanks for the call. As for the Falcons game coming up this week, they've never played well out there at Los Angeles. I'm more or less a historian with that. I go with trends. I think Los Angeles is going to win the game. The Falcons just do not play well against the Rams on the road.
Well, Ty, they didn't play well against Washington, and they won yesterday.
Okay, but more importantly, the respect factor I touched on early in the show, the Rams have not gotten any respect this year. Here they are, shutting out the Kansas City Chiefs, going back home to play home game, and they're the underdog in this game. The Falcons are picked to win this game. That's a huge mistake for the Falcons. They can't shoulder that burden in the NFL. They haven't shown they can win consistently on the road, so making them the favorite is playing into the Rams' hands. I'll tell you, the Rams probably will win this game like Ty said.
Yeah, even though the Falcons broke that streak with Washington, I mean, doing something like that 2 times in a row. First of all, this is a team I think that's only going to win 5 games. At the beginning of the year, I thought they would go 5-11, and I'm going to stay with that prediction.
Yeah, I think
one of the reasons they only picked 5 wins is a loss in
They might
Los
finish
Angeles.
500. New Orleans has got to be a weak team. They could sweep them this year. You never know. So it's hard to say how many wins they will have, but I rather doubt that they'll beat the Rams out in L.A., having already beaten them. I mean, you know, if you look in statistics, they'll show you that the rematch in a divisional game usually always goes to the team that lost the first go-round.
Okay. We had an earlier question. His first question?
Yeah, what was it? I forgot.
Oh, no,
I got to talk about the NFL.
Started talking about the Falcons game.
Okay. Well,
we'll just tell them to call back next week.
Yeah, call back next week and ask your first question. We all got off on the Falcon game.
Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to go to Dirty Al's.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank
Jay's
you guys.
buying.
Yeah.
That would be good. Well, thank you guys, and thank our callers and viewers for watching the show. We'll see you next Monday, 8 o'clock.